everybody? It's your girl D, and welcome back to Save with a Twist podcast, where we talk about anything, everything, but always with a twist. Now, I will say this: Happy Black History Month to all of my brothers and sisters. Also, happy month of love. This is the 100th year celebration of Black History Month. We always have to shout out the person that got us here, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, because without him, there would be no Black History Month. But we're not going to focus on Black history today. Just, want to give you a Black history fact because I do love those. But today, we're going to be talking about, feelings, emotions, because this is the month of love. So let's dive into that. Today, we are talking about healing is cute until you have to be consistent. Now, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning. If you don't want to talk about this or listen to it, go ahead and jump off now. Because today we're going to be very vulnerable. We're going to be very open, very transparent. You will get to dive into the mind that is your girl D. However, I do not want to trigger anybody if you have not. I'm not talking about anything like that, but it's triggering if you are not ready to dive into your emotions. You might want to catch me next week, okay? So, if you're still here, get yourself together, get your tea, get your little notepad. I may give some tips, but we're going to talk about this, okay? And let's dive right in. And we're going to be honest. Healing sounds a lot better than what it feels. Transparent moment, transparent moment. Y'all know I am an advocate for therapy. And I may have told you this story before, but you're going to listen to it again. So I tell y'all, I'm very big, very active in my church. And years ago, this is pre-pandemic. Um, I had come into church, I'm looking cute. Would say I was in a pretty decent mood. However, somebody said good morning to me, and all I saw was red. All I wanted to do was basically bash their head in. Hadn't done anything to me, nothing about it. But I knew in that moment something was wrong with me. So I sought out therapy, right? And I say this story to say there are a lot of times that we start our healing journey not from any incident that happens, but just because you know something is wrong and you need to be better, you need some help or whatever. Now, I will say this when you start your little healing journey or whatever, it sounds real cute because you're like, oh, I'm going to have a new mindset. We're going to have some fresh perspective on things. And then as time goes on, you're like, oh, I'm doing the work. But what we don't talk about is when the excitement wears off, when you have to do this while life is still going on and you're still having triggers pop up. And like for me, I started doing therapy and I'm very grateful to my therapist. I use BetterHelp. This is not an ad for them, but I did use BetterHelp. And because, like I said, we were in pandemic mode, I could not go see my therapist. I did my therapy online and I requested on the app, I said I wanted a female Christian therapist. I got neither of those things. However, this is for the believers out there. God knew what he was doing. I had a male counselor and he was not a believer of any sort or fashion because in that moment, here's the twist, okay? Thought I needed a Christian counselor. However, I did not need a Christian counselor because no offense to the rest of the believers in the world, my problems had nothing to do with Christianity. My problems had to do with trauma from childhood. That's what my issue was. I didn't need a Christian counselor. I needed an actual therapist who was going to call me on my crap. But like I said, healing, it was real cute in the beginning. Because, like I said, that's what I decided. And for some of the other people who I've talked about who've gone on their healing journey, they thought it was gonna be real cute. And it is kind of cute to you, when you start out, but it stops being cute when you have to keep showing up as the healed version of yourself. you cannot regress into who you used to be. And truthfully, I say it like this because guess what? Other people are not ready, nor are they willing to accept the new version of you. So then it's not cute. Everybody just sitting there looking at you like you done lost your mind. But I do have a question for you. And be honest with me. Drop it in the comments. When did healing stop feeling exciting to you? And let's talk about the part that nobody prepares you for when you go on your healing journey. Because guess what healing really is? It's boring. Yep, it is boring. Why do you say that, Darissa? Gladly, I will tell you. Because let's talk about this. Healing is basically you choosing to respond with a healthier response. It's catching yourself mid-reaction. It's doing the same internal corrections over and over and over again. And guess what, y'all? There is no applause for that. There is no applause for you not reacting. There is no applause for you not going back to those same people and decisions that you used to make. There is no applause for you for not engaging when someone is purposely trying to piss you off. And you have to choose this peace very quietly. Because guess what? Healing is not a group project. It's not. And let's go back to talking about, what I'm saying. Healing is choosing a healthier response again. Because the first time you do it, oh, that's well and good. And sometimes there are people there to see that. But when you consistently do it, they're not clapping you up how we clap up a baby when they first learn how to walk. Ain't nobody doing that because I'm going to equate healing how you would, praise a child for learning how to walk, how to talk, all of those things. It's baby steps. At all times it's baby steps. Um Truthfully, I it sometimes takes a lot for me to choose a healthier response because I know Madam Michelle Obama says when they go low, we go high. Sometimes I want to go on down there to hell and say what I want to say, but I have to make the choice to respond healthier than what I normally would. And truthfully, that catching yourself mid reaction, let me tell you, that's my bread and butter. That's where I'm at in my journey. And not so much now anymore because I no longer put myself in positions to have to react. Now, I'm gonna be honest. Yesterday I had someone say something to me, and let's be real about it. Here's the twist. I was pissed off with what they said. And I was typing out a long, scathing text message. But I stopped mid text. I didn't even send it. I stopped mid text of me typing it up. And I was like, you know what? This don't even deserve this type of response. And I deleted the whole thing. Wasn't nobody there to see me do that. That was something I was like, girl, you did that. Yeah, because as a black woman, we likes to hype people up for real. We do. But I was like, girl, we got to stop that. Stop. You're done. And then I just responded with a couple of sentences and I was like, hey, that's it. I'm done. The person sent me back another response. I sent you 3 letters and it was not me cursing them out, just so you know. And then they sent another response. I have not responded back because I'm like, you know what? I'm not doing that. And this is the same thing you do over and over again. That's my internal correction. So that's what you got to do. But there was nobody here with me to applaud me for doing that. I mean, for those that believe in the Lord, yeah, he applauds you for doing that. He's like, okay, my child is learning. He might be hyping me up, but not in the way that I'm used to. And I mean, that's what you have to do when you are on your healing journey. And that part does get boring after a while because it becomes your new normal. And there's nobody there to say, oh, look at you. Look at little Johnny. Little Johnny did a good job. Now, I will say this because, like I said, I am a black woman. I can only speak from my black woman experience because every black woman's experience is not the same. But for us, especially Black women, I feel like healing for us, it gets very boring because of the way that we may have been raised, the way we may have been brought up. We come from a perspective of surviving, just surviving to make it to the next day, like not living life, but just surviving. Like Black women, of course, we know how to adapt to any situation. Sometimes people are adapting to us because we are always that strong beacon of hope and light in the world. And then we also have this, I don't want to call it anything that it's not, but we have this ideology, that's the word I'm looking for, of pushing through. And we do all these things as Black women. And the one thing I have not said that we do is we don't slow down. And what healing requires of us is that we slow down. You cannot always power through it. And for us in the Black community, and I can't just say Black women, that's unfamiliar for us because we always on the go. We got to hustle. We got to work twice as hard just to get half of what the Caucasian community has. And as a time that becomes, it's stressful for us. So it makes our healing journey even more boring, in my personal opinion, because you always got to think about that too. Like you can't pop off in certain places because now that the whoever, I can't just say Black people or whites, Latinos, Asians, whomever, they're gonna be judging you based off of that, right? Based off of your reaction at all times. And like I said, sometimes you gonna have moments where you gonna have to catch yourself mid reaction, and not necessarily just to say mid reaction, but you got to catch yourself in your thought process too. Because like we said, healing is it's a new mindset. And what do you do with a new mindset? You try it out. And sometimes we regress back to that old mindset. But like I said, all I'm gonna say for this is I've seen some people say that you get exhausted from being on your healing journey. And I want to say that's not the case. I feel like you don't get exhausted from your healing journey, but you get exhausted from trying to repeat new patterns all the time. It takes a lot for you. So that's something that you have to deal with. And it may feel boring, but that doesn't mean that your healing journey is not working. And say this, sometimes boring usually means that you're being stable or you're consistent in what you're doing. And what happens when that consistency becomes real for you? And let me say this, when you're on your healing journey or any journey whatsoever, consistency does not mean perfection. We're not asking you to be perfect. Nobody is. But consistency does mean catching yourself sooner, like I caught myself in that text message. It could mean that you apologize faster. Now, I'm still working on that because, baby, an apology is not quick to come out of my mouth. It's not. Or consistency could really mean that you're choosing differently, even when it's inconvenient. And that inconvenience might not even be about you, but it could be about others. What do I mean by this? Well, like I said, I like to work in church. I love to serve and do everything. However, at one point, I was overextending myself, not just to make people like me or anything like that. I was just overextending myself because I was of the thought process if I don't do it, it's never going to get done until I reached a point of burnout. And then when I was like, you know what? I got to say no. I can't. I can't do this right now. And I told people, hey, I'm not available to do this. Baby, let me tell you, you would have thought that I told them that I was the one that pierced Jesus in his side. Them folks was big mad at me. Or you mad at me for something? No. But it's been very convenient for you to always have me at a phone call away. And now I'm no longer a phone call away. And now you feel, oh, well, you're inconveniencing me. But did you ever think about how you inconvenience me? Just saying, sometimes you deciding to be consistent on your healing journey and saying no or not putting yourself in situations where it can affect your mental well-being, it's going to seem very inconvenient for other people, but it's not going to be inconvenient for you. I said what I said. And I will say this. Sometimes when you're going through your healing journey, it shows up in different ways. I would say it shows up in how you respond when you're triggered, how long you stay upset, or what you tolerate now versus before you went on the journey, what you tolerated. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I was texting a friend yesterday, and this is a different text conversation. And he said something that triggered me. And not that I went off on a rant, but it was just something that I was like, I don't like that. And I explained to him a couple of hours later because I was like, I still got work to do. And I was like, hey, what you said, like that kind of triggers me. I'm like, because I feel like, and it was nothing that he did specifically. I was like, I feel like that you're speaking your life away because I'm very intentional about my words. I try not to say negative things that could impact my life or somebody else's. But I was just like, hey, that kind of triggered me for a little bit. And he was like, well, it wasn't my intention. I said, I know it wasn't. I said, but I'm also going through some other things. I had a friend die who's the same age as me, and it just really made me, emotional in the moment that he and I were conversing. And I was just like, okay. So we had the conversation. I explained myself. He was like, I totally understand, and moved on. Now let's talk about if how I would have been before my healing journey versus now. Before my healing journey, babe, I wasn't gonna speak to that man again for the rest of his and my life. I'm done. However, now I was able to say, let's have the conversation. Let's do this. Let's, move forward from it. And we did. No problem, no nothing. And he was very receptive to what I had to say. And that's what you always want in, your friend group, your romantic partners, or whatever. You want someone to be accepting of you when you're having a bad moment, whatever. That's what healing is about. Because you're gonna have bad moments on the along the journey. And I will say this because I don't think I've said it yet. Healing is not a linear thing. It's always to me going in a circle. Because you can be in a good spot one day, and even in that same day, 5 hours later, you're not in a good spot because you heard some devastating news, whatever, or something triggered you so bad that you just had to take a step back or you crash out, whichever one you do. Because again, it's not about perfection. Now, going back to the text message that pissed me off. Now, mind you, I was just reaching out to the person and they asked me a question. I answered your question, and then you wanted to switch up because you didn't like the response that I gave you. And this has happened more often than not with me and certain friends that I'm always the one there for you. I'm trying to ask questions. I'm trying to help you be a better person, regardless if you ask for it or not, because I'm a little busybody some days. But with that, I was just like, you know what? Anytime I'm trying to have a vulnerable moment with this person, you don't want that. You only want me in a specific capacity. So I made the decision. It's executive on my part. Our contact is probably going to be limited to now. Happy birthday, and that's if I remember your birthday. Happy birthday. We don't really have too much more that we need to talk about, converse about anything. Um, if you want to come back and apologize, I will greatly accept your apology because, like, I just answered your question and you took it all the way left. But that's neither here nor there. And as I'm growing and in my faith, whether it's the spiritual growth or you're just growing as a person, the longer that you're on this journey, the longer that you're, going through your healing process or bettering yourself if you want to go there, because everybody's not doing that. They just want to better themselves. One thing that you will gain or you should gain is some wisdom. Like a lot of times I've seen the serenity prayer mentioned a lot of times, and I know the serenity prayer is a lot longer than the part they say, and a lot of times it's always relegated to those, in the anonymous groups. But when it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Let me say it like this. When you get that wisdom, I promise you, your peace gonna show up. It's going to be some emotional maturity, and then you'll learn self-respect. Because for me, I know I can't change that person, but I can change how that person talks to me or how much access that person has to me. That's something that I can change. And to be honest with you, healing is a lot less about those big breakthrough moments. And it's more about those small corrections or acknowledgments of you growing into the person that you should be, the person that you need to be. And do me a favor, just take a moment. Think about something, that you handled better than you did last year, even if it's small. And tell us down in the comments. And when I say us, all of us here together, because yes, we're all in this together, High School Musical. Y'all, I just watched it for the first time in 20 years. It was hilarious. But like I said, neither here nor there. And something else about healing, and let me say, preface this. I'm not bashing social media, but a lot of times on social media, healing, it's showing up like it's soft music, these little cute quotes, the I've arrived energy, things like that. But in all honesty, real healing does not look like that. It doesn't. Like we said, it's boring. It doesn't have an aesthetic because everybody's journey is different. But healing looks like you're doing the same thing right. Not the same thing, the same thing right or different for the 20th, 11th time. Okay. And you're not posting about your healing journey. You're not. Sometimes you're choosing to restrain yourself from posting anything. And I'm going to be honest, those who want to post the things about, I'm in my healing era, whatever, I don't think they're lying. I just think, we, as a society, we don't post the boring parts because it doesn't get you views or anything like that. Like if you post that boring part, you probably have, I'm gonna say, out of 1,000 people, 75 people that can relate to it. But the rest of those people, they want clickbait stuff. They want stuff that's gonna make them feel good versus you telling them, hey, I did this part to make myself feel good. And you we don't really measure our healing by looks. We don't. It's measured more so in how you respond and how you react. And I say this to say, because I've seen a lot of social media, especially towards the end of last year. Oh, I'm in my healing era. Really? So tell us how you had a breakdown at 3 a.m. Can you tell us that? Can you tell us how, life was going for you when you were ready to end it all? Because you're not going to. And I feel like that's the problem. And like I said, I'm not bashing social media. It's just a thought. But I don't want you, if you're, younger than me in my 30s, or you're in your teens and you just happen to be listening to this, you do not have to put on a show for people when you're trying to better yourself. First off, it's not for them to know anyway. It's a personal choice and a personal matter. Um, then I'm gonna be honest with you because I think a lot of people post on social media to give other people motivation, but let's be real. Motivation is gonna come and go. It is. Your healing really does come through the consistency of you building routines, setting boundaries, and having awareness for your triggers, awareness for things that you should no longer be participating in, people that you need to let go, all of that. I mean that's what you need. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the healing part or the changes that you implement stick in part because of how you choose to live. And it's not just something like you visit from time to time. And I say that to say because motivation, it visits you from time to time, but it doesn't stay around. And your healing has to be consistent. It's more about how you live, it's more about how you choose to go forward. And especially as Black people, and I'm going to say this because our community is amazing. Yes, it's Black History Month, and we are absolutely amazing. But when we decide to go on a healing journey, it's real lonely because in some communities, like when I decided to do therapy, I felt very isolated because I did not feel like my family understood me because they were like, well, I can't just say my family, but other people. I didn't tell people I was doing therapy because a lot of people like, oh, you're weak for seeking out therapy. You're weak, especially in the Black community, faith-based Black community. Oh, that's a white people problem. Only white people can afford therapy. I mean, we would talk to counselors, and I say we as the collective Black we. Some people talk to counselors and things like that, but yeah, we weren't, keen on therapy because we were like, that's white people problems. And it's not. Therapy is very helpful. God invented had somebody invent therapy, all that. It's helpful when you go to use it for the right way. But I felt very isolated. And also because this was therapy just for me. This is not therapy as a group project. And also in the Black community, once you grow or heal and you start moving with that type of energy, like you become a different person and they still see you as the old version of who you were because sometimes they can't accept that new version of you and it drives them nuts. And also I will say this because in our community we hype each other up. Like somebody texted me or said something to me the other day and they were like, oh, I'm getting my hair braided. And I was like, okay, bro. Because that, we hype you up about the littlest things. But what we don't hype you up about is becoming a better version of you. Especially if that better version of you is going to now stop allowing me to have access to you 24/7 if I need it. But I'm just saying that's something that we have to deal with in our community. But I have been so preachy a little bit. Sorry for that. But I will say this as I'm wrapping this up. Healing doesn't have a finish line because you will always continue to heal. You'll continue to grow. You'll continue to move in a different way than you moved before. It's really a lifestyle adjustment. You change who you are because you grow. You're not the same person you were when you were 15. You're not the same person when you were 25. You grow, your lifestyle changes, you make adjustments for that. And the fact that you're choosing to say, I'm not going to be the same, that is what this journey is all about. And I can say this if you are on your healing journey and it feels boring right now, that just means it's becoming a natural part of who you are. And that is not a failure. It's not. It simply just means that you're growing. I hope this helps somebody somewhere down the line, or if not, it gave you more insights into the person that I am and why this podcast is important. Please do me a favor, like it, share it with somebody who you know needs to hear these words. And I'll catch you guys next week for another episode of Save with the Twist podcast.